Hi, Hunter Hastings here. We are highlighting a couple of really interesting and useful areas in today's episode. One is the kind of economic opportunities that are opening up for insightful and adventurous entrepreneurs in today's high technology world. The area that we are highlighting is robotics, practical robotics that can do useful things instead of people having drudgery and having hard work and heavy lifting. The robots can do it for them, releasing them for other tasks. The second is the rate of change that goes on in worlds of endeavor like robotics. The software is changing, the hardware is changing, the techniques are changing, the education is changing, the acceptance in society is changing. Everything is moving at high speed. And how does a CEO cope with that? Today's CEO is Marianela Nanninga. She heads up a robotics company called ToDo Robotics. She calls it that because her robots are able to do those basic tasks of cleaning hotels and serving meals in restaurants and many, many more. Let's talk to her about that and about the future of robotics.
This is the Value Creators Podcast, your source for a new kind of business education, escaping from business administration mode and entering dynamic entrepreneurship mode. We're guided by entrepreneurial economics, which is the source of all growth and positive change for businesses of all sizes in all markets. We talk to experienced experts in value creation so that there's business learning for you in every episode.
Marianela, welcome to the Value Creators Podcast.
Thank you very much, Hunter. Thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity to have a meaningful conversation and chat about robotics and useful robotics in the market.
Yeah, so you're in a very exciting place, and we're all at a very exciting time where both AI and robotics are coming together. They're coming to a tipping point, maybe, but you've said a lot of the AI material is hype, at least in the robotics field. And you look at practical, useful robots. So please tell us about that. Teach us about practical, useful robots.
Absolutely. And let me correct that. It's not that it's only hype, the AI, but actually the usage of the AI is just at the beginning. What we're going to be seeing in the future is really real-time applications and real-time use that it will be further developed of what it is right now, the applications and the functionalities of the robots. In the current state, for the more realistic and the up-to-date robots that are working in the market, we are actually concentrated in commercial side robots that actually do a very specific task, like, for instance, floor cleaning, window cleaning, server, or moving things from one place to another. Anything that actually there are multiple robots that are right now in the market that can help to actually do repetitive jobs, repetitive actions that actually help the day-to-day for maintenance, cleanings, and operations in different industries. So these type of daily robots are actually functioning robots are already in the market, have been in the market for around function actually 100%, working with clients for the last at least 2 years, 3 years. And the development and the opening into the market, and actually the penetration is growing day by day.
So your company is ToDo Robotics, and I understand one of your areas of concentration is the hospitality industry. So maybe you could drill down a little bit into more specifics about what your robots do for the hospitality industry, what their application is, what the ROI is. Just give us a little bit more detail.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for mentioning that. And yes, hospitality is one of our bigger fields right now, areas and verticals, specific for the hotels, resorts, and casinos, anything related to hospitality that actually requires daily cleaning. We have robots that actually help on those operations. We have completely automated scrubbers, automated vacuums, machines that are able to actually deliver things from one place or another. So the real application that you see is, for instance, imagine a hotel of 15 floors. So you have now all of the sudden an automated vacuum that is able to clean all the floors in a period of time that is shorter, and that a human will do it, and do it in a more precise way, a more consistent way in terms of the cleaning, because it is a machine. So the machine actually will had all the time the same pressure, the same speed, the same quality, and of the job cleaning each one of the corridors or hallways. And you will have even proof of that, because every time of the machine finish one floor, it will send you a report of the cleaning in that specific
Mhm.
floor. So all of the sudden, it's not only that you have the task accomplished, but you have proof of that as well. So that will allow you to have actually data in terms of really in terms of operations, that is very valuable for hospitality and for in the hotel board as well. But it is the same thing applicable for actually other areas that is not only hospitality, because think about the senior living facilities. Most of them have more or less the same layout and the same concept of a hotel. So it's the same thing. You could clean the corridors, the public areas in a certain way with the machines that are completely autonomous. That doesn't mean that the people that actually is doing today that job will remain without work. It's just the opposite. These machines are actually the assistant to that people, because all of the sudden that people will have more time to actually dedicate to clean up other areas that normally are a little bit renegated and forget, like baseboards, doors, handles, and that kind of things. So it is a very fortunate situation, and it's a win-win combination for the operations facilities, and also for the customer, because at the end of the day, the one that is winning is the customer.
So I get that they're standardized and repetitive and can do that job forever. Do they need custom programming? I mean, different hotels are different shapes and the corridors are different lengths and the carpets are different.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And this part of actually our service, and any other companies that provide the service for robotics, is actually go there, do what we call the deployment, the installation, where we actually do the mapping of the area floor by floor, and then we have to actually edit the map, and put virtual walls, put highlight areas, put obstacles, light up things that actually there is an editing, there is an art to actually work that map, do the editing, and then test it multiple times, each one of the floors, to be sure that it's working perfectly. After doing this, actually verify that the specific map is working perfectly, and the whole deployment had been done floor by floor. Then we actually take the operators, train the operators in the how to make it the robot work,
Mhm.
and do also the daily maintenance and other things that it will be necessary to carry out to ensure the full operations and the successful operations of the machines.
And what kind of a benefit set or ROI are the clients looking for, Marianelle? Is it a return on labor? Is it greater efficiency? Is it greater effectiveness? They get cleaner. What's their benefit
is
set?
it is a combination. Actually, it's interesting because we started this project with different companies around a year and a half ago. So the data that we have right now in our hands is actually real data in terms of operation. So what we see is a difference in the ROI that it is in a casino floor, or a hotel, for instance. In a hotel, normally we are talking about ROI around 150% per year. And we will have that the machine will pay itself between 6 to 9 months, depending how much and how big is the property. But actually, it's a very positive ROI. Besides the area of actually return of investment, and actually break even of the equipment, one of the advantages, what I said before, is the consistency of the job. You
Mhm.
always have the fact that you then can count in having that area clean, in an stable basis and with data that show that. So that is reflecting actually also in the ratings that the customer give to the clients,
Right,
to the to
right.
the to the hotel regarding that. That is for what is regarding actually hotels and hotel towers and really hotel facilities. Now it gets crazy actually ROI when it gets in the casino floors. Why? Because casino is 24/7. So all of a sudden you have actually a worker that can work 15 hours a day, actually, all of a sudden. So you can clean multiple times and you have three shifts. And even if you actually not eliminate, but reallocate one of the persons in the shift to do something else, you still will have that opportunity to actually clean out multiple times huge areas in a very effective amount of time, ensuring that the quality is very big, is really at the levels required and even better. And so we see returns of investments in casinos of over 600%. We see actually break evens of the machine in 4 to 6 months. So it is the advantage for the property is really really big, and I think that there is a correlation. The bigger the place, the most effective is and the most positive is the ROI. Obviously, so it is. It's very interesting the math
Yeah.
behind.
Do the gamblers interact with the robots whether it's 24/7?
Yeah, and not all the time in a very positive way. In the sense, I mean, I would casinos are what it is, and you find everything. There are people that talk with the robot, that dance with the robot. They start like, "You're dancing with me, my love," and they say, "Oh God," but it's the nature of the beast. And but in general, there is a very positive and very sense of admiration in some way. There's all the time say, "Oh, look at that! What is that?" I mean, there is always the first 2 months, everybody in the casino, I mean, the patrons going to like, look at that, what is doing? And there's this sense of curiosity to say, are we really arriving to that point? This is Rossi. This is the next step.
Yeah. This is how we're going to be in the future, right? Interacting with robots.
Yeah.
So, what other industries are you looking at beyond hospitality? Where are some of the next applications, do you think?
Yes, we are actually working and not only in the hospitality, as I say senior living facilities, healthcare, also food service. Actually, we are as a company we started almost 3 years ago, and one of our biggest markets is actually the food service industry, restaurants specific. We actually also distribute one of the models that popular models in the market called BellaBot and BellaBot Pro from ToDo Robotics that actually bring the main task is to actually bring things from one place to another. But in context of a restaurant, actually is bringing the food from the kitchen to the table. So it's your runner going back and forth. And at BellaBot, we have over 250 restaurants working with us. And very interesting thing is the majority of the restaurants that are working with me are Mexican restaurants. So it's not that normal, cliche. They say, "Oh, you find it in an Asian restaurant." No, you will start finding in other restaurants as well. Q
Yeah.
service, QSR. I mean, fast food facilities, but also Mexican restaurants.
So this feels, Marianela, a bit like a tipping point. Like we've reached the point where, as you say, it's pretty normal now. Can do all of these kinds of jobs. The robots can work efficiently, and all of a sudden we'll get a flood. We've crossed the chasm. It's going to become normal. Do you feel like that? Do you think that we're at that tipping point now?
No yet, but definitely we're going toward that point. We have. I had noticed a different, welcome into with from the not only from the customer side, not only for the direct client like there are the companies, but also really for the customer. Now they
Mhm.
are really actually getting more, familiar, not threat, getting into the point to wanted to interact a little bit more with the robots, especially younger generation. This is amazing, how is incredible the reaction for the kids saying hi to the robot, is stopping by and say, hey, can you see me, or trying to actually interact and having conversations. And actually it is possible right now. There are a couple of models that have AI integrated that actually it could be able to carry that conversation and go order and elaborate. But obviously, it all depends what you want, because let's put it that you had that in the context of a restaurant. Do you really want a robot that is talking with every client that stop by to say, hey, what is the weather today? Or tell me a joke. I mean, then you will have a problem having a too talkative robot that will be
Right.
like, hey, you have to do your job. So,
They're
but
all good.
yes,
Yeah.
carry on.
But just to pursue this tipping point a little bit, I was looking at the Wall Street Journal this morning, and there's an article about a DHL robot that's unloading trucks now. And apparently that was a problem that was quite hard to solve. The different weights, the different shapes, the different depth in the truck. And it's a real problem for a human being, but they've got the robot now. It's pretty good, but not perfect. But it feels like, we're almost there, or that it'll become the standard. So why do you say
Yeah,
not quite yet?
yes, and this is the beauty about it. It's like, as I said, there is not the applications of commercial robots and logistic and industrial side robots for very specific tasks. It's actually had been improving, and the quality and the the quality of that job year by year, and actually I can say month by month, is
Mhm.
improving and getting better. Those actually companies like Fanuc, like Schneider, like ABB are producing arm systems and robotic arms that other third-party companies developed actually the software to improve every movement, every sensors. I mean, what you are talking about, that the robots that are able to upload or download, take it the load for trucks, for DHL, for FedEx, for whatever big company. It's something that has been in the study for the last 2 years. But the critical thing over there is how the robot will have to know exactly how, not only how to pick it, but the weight, how to, how much you need weight to carry on, not be too much to with. So, and that is related to the sensors, to the visual sensors, to the quality, to sensors that are able to assess the weight the cell, and that is improving. I mean, every component, and this is beautiful about this, every component that actually is part of all these system, automated systems, are improved in quality, are improving thanks to AI and a lot of machine learning that is connected to that. So that's why we're day by day actually improving in all the algorithms that help to carry out all the systems. So yes, it will be better in a month. Absolutely. Absolutely. Same
Yeah.
thing it is with any kind of robotic system. Every company is actually, in average, sending updates in their software and their algorithms every 2 to 3 months. So no matter what, whatever robot you had tested and seen 6 months ago, now it's much better because it's
Yeah.
learning. And that is the important part with AI. AI, what it gets is give the opportunity to accumulate all the data and learn to
Right.
over that.
Yeah. Learn and improve. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this point that you just made about um, all the sensors, all the software, and all of the components, really interested in understanding your company, Marianela, and how you put it together. It sounds like you're a systems integrator, right? To have a robot on the floor, it's the result of a huge integration, a huge ecosystem. We like to use that word, where the sensor manufacturers and the software coders and so on, you pull them together. Tell us how you do that, what you keep inside, and what you do with partnerships, and how you manage the ecosystem.
Well, we actually had different levels of partnership with different companies. We have, for instance, a lot of the robots that we get, actually we get it already OEM, or they already are coming with their own software. What we actually are doing actually is integrated and doing all the other integrations with software that it will give give additional value to the robot. So, for instance, there are some robots that we do that. There are other robots that actually what we do is a little bit more. More the robots are so good that actually doesn't need too much integration and too much coding or anything that we have to change, but actually it will requires a high level of project management, actually bringing it to the client and deploying the project into the client's premises. So depending what are the robots, cleaning robots tend to be very precise and in the already as a software. So, but it will require a very big amount of software program management to deploy the robot and to actually ensure that the consistent quality of the performance in the machine, and actually coordinate and train the operators and in the field that actually to be ensured that is always a certain level of quality in the cleaning process, and give the continuous maintenance independent to the robot to ensure that. There are other robots like the server robots that are coming with a basic, for instance, software for navigation. But then there are other projects that you want like an integration with POS system, integrations with, they are doing right now, we're doing a POC actually with, or writing right now the code for the integration with the software management, the table management system, to actually use the robot to actually be your independent host that will stop in at the entrance of the restaurants and will tell you, okay, how many people you are in your party today? And just you will say, okay, 5. Okay, give me a second, and it will be actually the robot to pick up, actually check it out in the inventory, say, okay, I had. Follow me, I will bring you to the table, and automatically will bring you to the table and say, okay, please sit down. A server will be with you shortly, and they
Yeah.
leave. So it is these kind of things actually is it already happened. The robot per se had the ability right now to actually guide you from point one to B. And we can actually do in the mapping, do the programming to do that. What is actually unique is actually that integration, that connection between that function with knowing what are the tables available that is coming with the system management system that the restaurant had related to the tables management. So that part, that integration is actually is the new frontier, is that integration, what else you can do with the robot. And that
Yeah.
this is the part of creativity that I think that a lot of companies are trying to put together and say, okay, now we have the machine, but what we can do.
Right. We're delighted to announce the Value Creators online course. For entrepreneurs in every kind of business, big, small, or medium, at every stage, in every industry, our course provides the foundations and principles on which to build success. Simple, clear purpose and principles give rise to creativity, innovation, and competitively superior business action. There are 11 foundational principles or mental models that together cohere into the value business model. Principles for value generation, principles for value operations, principles for value finance and accounting, and principles for value sustainability, as well as the new knowledge accumulation you'll need for continuous innovation. These principles are delivered by top business professors from top business schools: Mark Packard, Per Byland, Gordon Miller, David Rapp, and Bart Vanderhagen. You'll find video lessons from them, along with downloadable tools, processes, and other valuable content. Master these lessons, and you'll master the most important skill in business: value creation. Go to thevaluecreators.com and click the course link. So, one of the words we like to use for that, Marianela, is hyper-personalization. The service you provide for that client in that restaurant with that table layout, with that menu, with that POS system, you're hyper-personalizing it so it's perfectly right just for that location. Is that a way to think about it?
Yes, it is absolutely a way to think about it, because actually it's not going to be the same thing over and over for different. I mean, at least that you are, on the box QSR that had or a layout that is exactly the same over and over and over. But actually, even in the big box, retail systems, there are the the shop in a box or the store in a box is never 100% equal. So you really have to have that minimum personalization to actually try to accommodate the different locations to that.
Yeah. And is the customer presumably is co-creating some of that? It's another one of our buzzwords, but they said, I wish it could do this. I wish it could do that. In my restaurant, we've
Yeah.
got this funny corner. And is that's part of the innovation, right? Is getting the customer to ask special things.
Absolutely, and this is big part to actually for them. And most of the customers start with the first phase is first of all getting acquaintance to the robot and understanding what the robot does, and then after that, the first phase is when the ad is actually the customer coming back and say, "I know that the robot is doing this, but it will be possible to do this." This or this. So it is additional request actually it is what it really in some way guide the development of the software, the integrations, and the having this sense of having the robot to perform more activities in
Mhm.
the with the within the premises.
Yeah. That's fascinating. You you emphasize at ToDo Robotics, you emphasize delivering working solutions, and you said you cut out the vaporware. It's all really practical. It's today. It does the job. What's the secret there? How did you cut out the vaporware part and get straight to this really practical, useful application of robotics?
Well, I think that it had been a way to study directly of what are the operations in the really in restaurants and how it is the most efficient way to actually help and support the operations. One of the things is it's like I started my background is not in food service, it's not in hospitality. So honestly, since day one, I had to really analyze. We had been able to sit down and analyze of what is the operations and based on the in the operation is when we go to the customer and say, okay, I noticed that you work in this way. We're going to adapt the robot to actually, in the moment of deployment, to actually support your regular operations. I don't want to actually bring the robot and tell the customer, you have to change all the way what are your operations and your processes. It's just the opposite. The robot has to adapt or whatever are the processes
Yeah.
that you are using in the most effective way.
Yeah. No, that's fascinating. And so you're auditing their operations, how they get value and how they create value in the restaurant, and then making sure the robot does that, as opposed to the other way around. Here's what the robot does.
Exactly, and all this dysfunction depends on actually what is the weakest points in the restaurant exactly that they will need more help. There are some restaurants that actually as I said, we come in with the preconception of the people said, oh, I will bring the actually the food from the kitchen to the tables, but maybe that process is very efficient and then the problem might be bringing the drinks from the bar to the table. And then that is when they, instead of putting the robot to actually serve the food, we're gonna have the robot actually delivering actually the drinks
Yeah.
or the appetizers, or in the case of the Mexican restaurant, the chips and the salsa. That is the first welcome that you receive in a Mexican restaurant. So I have a lot of Mexican restaurants that use the robot specific. They call it the chipera because it's the one bringing the chips. So we
Yeah.
had the robot being the chipera doing that. The first thing is it's a great way to actually welcome the patrons to the restaurant, but actually it's actually an efficient way to actually cut in a job, in a task that is a very burdensome for the waiters.
Yeah. And also very meaningful for the customer, right? You love to get those chips and
Absolutely.
salsa right at the beginning. That's great.
Yeah.
Just tell me a little bit about how you do the mapping, Marianela. Is it people watching people, or is it software tracking motion? How do you do the mapping?
Is software tracking motion. Actually, all the robots that we're talking about are coming with cameras all around, but also lidars. Depending of the model and the function that they had, they could have one, two, and even three different lidars in the unit. Now, when you are pushing the machine, actually the mapping happened. are in the environment that you had to map, define a starting point, and then pretty much is pushing literally the robot around the perimeters and trying to get as much details in that map. As you are walking, the map is actually creating the map. The LiDAR is actually creating the map, and you can see actually in your screen how that map works and how it comes around. Trying to
Yeah.
get actually, and then that's you do multiple passes if necessary to actually trying to get all the angles for the different obstacles and different things. And what is done actually, you say the map and start the editing process that delete any kind of noise or meaning any kind of obstacle that is not permanent in the map, and then created boundaries, create the virtual walls, creating highlight areas, putting together if there is a slope over here or there is an obstacle that is permanent over here. So doing that kind of things that it might take a little bit of time. Then, depending of the robot, if the robot is a server robot, probably you will after that have to actually start to um, prove and actually draw directly the routes and the paths, let's put it in this way, that the robot will take to actually arrive to the different areas or in the map, and then finalizing and then created the different stop points, meaning the base in the kitchen, for instance, and the different stop for each one of the tables. And then when the robot is finished, and for the server robot, you will see then in the face of the robot the possibility to all the tables sign out over there. So the server will be able to select the tables and send it. In the case of the cleaning robots, is a slightly different because you do the first part, you do actually the mapping, say the map, do all the editing of the map. But after that, actually, is more about creating the way that the robot tell the robot how to clean, if to clean actually in parts, if do the divisions in area, what type of cleaning will do for each one of the areas. And after that, actually, you don't do anything else because it will be the robot to every time decide what path it will use for cleaning the different areas. And that this is, I found this fascinating because this robot had a very high level of AI, and that is where the AI works. Because the more the robot actually clean the area, the more actually the robot will be more efficient to understand where are the obstacles, how to go around, what identify when is at actually a fixed obstacle or something that is temporary. So it is really fascinating.
Yeah. So if I'm a restaurateur and I move the tables around so that now there's a table where there used to be a pathway and vice versa, will the robot learn that automatically, or do I have to reprogram it?
Yeah, no, it will learn automatically. Actually, there are functions that is alternated path. So imagine that you are in the restaurant, you have the table in a certain configuration, but you have a big party and you have to put together those tables. So what is happening is where the robot will be able to identify when that part is actually blocked. It will wait. But it's a setting that we had to create. But it will wait. Let's put it 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 1 minute, but I realized that, oh, this is close. Let me take another path and it
Yeah,
will go around.
that's cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the philosophy of robotics a little bit. Everybody talks about that. You've highlighted in your website and some of your materials the importance of ethical robotics deployment. And you've talked about complementing human potential and benefiting society. So, what's your take on the ethics that are involved here? What are the ethical challenges as you see them, and how do you navigate them?
Well, and even though I am a person that works in robotics and this is my field, I do believe that it's important to understand that robotics, the idea to create the robots is to facilitate in some way the work of the humans. I pointed out that actually I believe that one of the number one actually function of the robot is to actually provide support and assistance to the repetitive tasks. I think that robotics actually are perfect to actually do jobs that actually are heavy,
Mhm.
are boring, are actually, it doesn't require a really high level of knowledge and capacity. What I think is that as we move forward, more robotics and automated system will take over on that. However, is the idea is to give more space to the humans to actually go and specialize in other areas and develop that all those fields that we will continue to have human touch, and we'll get it into the be the creative part of robotics. Let's put it in this way.
Yeah.
The robot will never really supplement and take over what is the human touch. That we cannot do it. That robots will not do it.
Yeah.
But what is us is the one. I wish that that person that is cleaning the floors and spend 5 hours doing that will actually in a hotel be with the one that actually receive the clients and actually score the client to the room and say welcome, given that additional thing.
Yeah. So let's elevate that to the debate, Marianela, about destroying jobs versus creating jobs. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. It sounds like, as you say, some people who work cleaning no longer have those cleaning jobs, or fewer of them, or fewer hours, or something like that. You say they elevate to higher level human oriented tasks, which is great. That may not happen in a specific hotel, right? They might actually reduce their workforce. How do you see this creating jobs versus destroying jobs playing out at the economy level or the regional level or the employment market in general? How do you see it?
So currently, I don't know. It's a very interesting thing because there is a shortage, actually, a huge shortage of in the industry of actually in the housekeeping areas and cleaning areas. So let's start with that thing. There is always a shortage, and it has improved a little bit. But actually, a year ago, we were talking about the turnover in housekeeping, as it was 120%. 120%. Right now, we have go down at around 80%, but it still is 80% of turnover in housekeeping. That means that actually the time that you spend training somebody to do the housekeeping job, that it takes at least 6 months to fully have somebody trained in that area, that person, the probabilities that that person will leave are very high.
Yeah.
So why they're high? And then let's go back to understand why they're high. Actually, it's high because it's a heavy job. It is a heavy job. Housekeepers not only have to clean up the rooms, clean up bathrooms, room, floors, do everything, and have to do it in a very specific amount of time. Most of the time, they are also the ones in charge on cleaning also the public areas, meaning the corridors, lobby areas, etc. So depending how big is the hotel, they will actually have to do multiple jobs. So in reality, what we're trying to do is actually even help the companies to actually keep really under happy that amount, that housekeeper, by giving another tool that they will be able to actually use to actually take part of their job in
Mm.
the heavy way while they continue to do what they are doing. There are not right now actually systems that are able to do a housekeeper in room service.
Right.
It
Right.
will be in the future, maybe in 30 years, but right now it's not it's not really a realistic solution.
Yeah.
So
So
the idea is like this person, this housekeeper, will have more time to actually dedicate to clean out the room in a very good pace without think about and be concerned about the other cleaning areas. Probably if they had extra, again, the robot had, especially this robot, floor cleaning robots, had very specific way to clean. It is not very good in the corners because it cannot maneuver
mhm,
exactly to go into the corner. Cannot clean actually the baseboards. Cannot clean doors or handles. So all that job is still somebody had to do it.
now I think you said we should elevate this to a societal level and create a kind of transition movement where we recognize this shift, we prepare for it, we help people do it right. As you say, let the robot do what the robot does, it releases me. But think of that as society. Let's welcome this change. Is that what
Yes, and then in the same way, the same thing is like we are currently as we go every place that we go, we have to train actually the operators. That guess what? Who is the operator? Is that EBA's guy? Is that porter? Is that housekeeper? That is the supervisor of housekeeper or a regular housekeeper that actually is put in charge in the robot. And then all of a sudden, where she starts to say, okay, this is how the robot operates. This is the troubleshooting. This is the way that you change and do the maintenance. So that person is actually becoming, it will become the actually in the future, the supervisor for automation and robotics. Because guess what? Maybe it will start with the cleaning robot, and then we'll go to the window cleaning robot, and then we'll go to the bathroom cleaning robot. But there will be somebody in the infrastructure, or probably multiple people in the infrastructure that will need to get trained to understand basic principles about navigation, troubleshooting, how the robot works, what are the sensors, what is a LiDAR, to explain to the other members, but also to do the troubleshooting and start to do. So this is the other part. It's like we have to start to think about actually retrain that personnel because they will become actually the experts of those systems in the future within their organization. And then we are more than happy to actually give training and men these people to understand. At the point that we actually working with another company called Cardinal Robotics, actually in a program, a certification for robotics operators to being able to actually handle this the scenes. And we're doing this in Nevada with the University of Las Vegas,
Oh, good. Are they?
University of the Nevada, sorry,
Yeah, UNLV. Are they?
UNLV.
They the certifier? They're issuing the certification. It's a
We're
university
working right
certification.
now. Yeah, we are working right now in the pension and putting together the certification to actually have that because there are a lot of properties over there that actually are using already the robots. We're doing this with them no matter what. But I think that this will give actually a new feel, because it's not only the operations of the robot, it's behind, is the data. You remember what I said about, oh, there is all the data about, well, all the data actually have a platform. There are dashboards that we can go and actually you can see the tasks, you can see actually ROIs, you can see so all this information and how to handle and manage that information and present it to the executives is actually what we need to actually train the people to do.
Yeah, fascinating. So before we go, let's talk about you, Marianela. You didn't start off in tech or building robots. You studied business communications at Sapienza, I understand. You have an
Yeah,
MBA, and then you studied cloud computing at Caltech, if I've got that right. So,
that's right.
what? Tell us about that. Your educational pathway to becoming a robotics CEO.
Well, I always liked technology. So, to be honest, I did actually, before to graduate from communications, I did actually study engineering for 3 years and then decided to change. But I always liked technology. So, always had worked pretty much in technology or connections with technologies and new media. And had that, I will be like a rare combination of technical sales. Yes, it was my background in business development and sales but always for technology. So I really love it. And I had the opportunity to travel multiple times in Asia, South Korea, China, Thailand, Hong Kong. And in one of those trips in 2015, actually, I was in South Korea, in Seoul, and my translator brought me to a restaurant, and they had the slowest robot in the world. It was this thing that one with that train that was going like a very slow. And I say, oh my God, it's so inefficient. But that is the future.
Yeah.
So I fell in love. Obviously I understood that at that point it was way too early to present it to the American market, even in an entertainment kind of way. But then fast forward in 2020, for the first time, I saw actually in CES a company that have a booth of commercial robots, commercial application robots. Remember, robotics had been in the market for 30, 40 years. But in the industrial way, I mean, in the automotive way, in the logistic way, but areas, but not really in commercial applications. That was the first time in 2020 that I saw a robot that was like a very good version of what I said. I mean, it was a server going things back and forth, bringing things back and forth. And I said, oh, this is it. And I contacted the company. I went over there, all of me going to this booth full of Chinese men saying, like, I'm very interested in robotics. They were looking at me, yeah, right. I mean, and that is the answer. But I very persistent. I started to send emails. I'm very interested. I'm very interested. Unfortunately, COVID just started. That happened in January, and then COVID started in March. So everything was actually, frozen for pretty much a year and a half. And then, but when I started the seas to move a little bit, open a little bit the market in China, I was working with another company that actually, Things of Light, they actually told me, hey, find new lines of business. We don't give you any boundaries. And one of the ideas that I had, it was about robotics, working in the area of robotic commercial application, robotic server robots. And they initially approved it, give it a budget to buy some of the robots. I did buy the robots and start to do a market research, going into restaurants. I learned how to deploy the robots, going to restaurants, doing my study with the clients, etc. And at the end of the period, there was 8 months. Actually, I present my findings. Decide, hey, I decide this brand because this, and this. I put together all the business plan, marketing plan, go to market, etc., and present it to the board. And they say no. So in the moment that they say no, they just it broke my heart. And I say, really, this is. When did you had that thing that you say, this is my call, I had to do it. Of course, to everybody it's like, how you can do it? But I start to think about, let me get a second. I'm the only one know how to deploy the robots. I'm the ones at that point had sold 2 robots. I had sold the robots. I had the interest in the market. I tested and this and that. And I say, I'm the company.
Yeah.
I am the company. So I left the company, I notified them. It's like, hey, I'm gonna take over this, and they say, oh well. So I did. So I went. Actually, thanks to one of the persons that work in the company, that was very good, and he actually helped me to. It was a Chinese gentleman, and helped me to actually negotiate with the manufacturer for my first purchase, and the rest is history. So by the time that the first cargo arrived, already was sold, and they had to order more and more, and here we are. So for the first year, I was the only person. I was the only technician. I was a very small company. I want to learn also, and every time that I had big deployments, I would call the manufacturer and say, I need help. They will send the engineer and help me to do it. So they really had really support me in a very very uh, uh, very incredible way. I have to say, they had been very supportive of me. It's not every day that they had actually women doing it by themselves in this field, and they are surprised and but very supportive. Let's put it this way.
Yeah. Well, it's a wonderful entrepreneurial story. Congratulations. We love that.
Thank
That
you.
kind of founder story. Let me ask you one more question about that, because we have this theory that founders manage their firms differently. They're much more attuned to customer value, as you've described throughout this interview, and you don't build bureaucracy, but you do get into the nitty gritty details, right? Everything has to be right. That's
Yeah.
kind of a theory that they call it founder mode in Silicon Valley. But is that accurate? How do you manage?
Great question. I mean, we try actually. I try to really get into the expectation, very hurt all the time the customer and satisfy as much as possible their request when it's realistic. There have to be actually a certain point of balance between what the client requires and what really the expectations and the limitations of the machine. And big part of my work is to really explain. I had customers that say, "Oh, the machine will clean everything, and now I don't need." No, 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 no. that is not exactly what the machine does. So I need to go and look at this. I mean, I can talk a lot, but come with me and see what is done in the best way that it could be done and what is missing. What is missing is what your people had to provide. I will guide you to actually accomplish and get the most effective usage of the robot. But there is behind something that you guys had to understand. What are the limitations? So this is managing expectation is a big thing. Definitely, yes. I'm a big, a little bit picky with everybody, and I'm not afraid actually with my technicians go over there and say, let's do it again, and then they will do it's not done well. Period, and there is no discussion about that because and this is actually one of the advantages that I had, the fact that I was a technician. And I am a technician, actually. I was last week deployed. One of my technicians got sick. Who else? I mean, there were another two working full time. I say, I'm going. And I was pushing robots and I had to do things that I had to do. But because I continued to have that feet on the floor, and working on that, I actually fine tune pretty quick and understand what the client is requesting. More now, a lot of time also I realize that sometimes the client, they don't even know exactly what they're requesting.
Yeah.
They don't have an idea. So there is a combination of education, managing expectation, and working with my technicians that definitely being on the floor, it gives me an extra advantage in that field, definitely. But yes, when you are there, you are really are able better to understand the requirements and also put it in clear words what is possible or not.
Yeah. Well, it's brilliant. I've really enjoyed this time together, Marianela. We'll put a link to your website on our materials and urge people to get in touch with you if they've got a need for robotics. How else would you like people to get in touch with you?
Well, it is. I want the people actually to know that robotics is a field that just is starting. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The applications, the new functionalities that actually are developing for different robotics systems that are developed right now is amazing. We need to start to understand and educate ourselves about what are actually the possibilities. One of the things is you fear the things that you don't know. So start to get information. Start to get information and understand, because that will get. We were talking this conversation about the ethical aspect of the robots. We will not be able to enforce the ethic part until we know what we can or not request for a robot. There are limits, and I am the first one to say, yes, we have to put limits. Eventually, yes, artificial intelligence with increase and went over, yes. But at the end of the day, we have to be clear that we should be the one in control and, well, the ones that will be able to turn off that technology.
Yeah. Yeah, be careful what you wish for, as they sometimes say.
Exactly. So as long we actually plan for the futures and had the specific guidelines, we don't have anything to fear.
Good. Well, Marianela, thank you very much for sharing your time today, sharing all the information. We've learned an enormous lot. And congratulations on everything you've achieved. And we look forward to watching you in the future.
Thank you very much, and actually thank you for this opportunity. If you guys, anybody wants to get more information about what we're doing with ToDo Robotics, one of our actually not only the server robots or cleaning robots, we're doing telemedicine robots. We're doing actually logistics robots and industrial applications as well, and the cooking robots. So this one of the things that we're actually lately getting into as well. So anything that is related with robotics is please reach out. Our website is going to be ToDoRobotics.com. And well, thank you very much for the opportunity again.
Good. Thank you, Marianela.
This has been another episode of the Value Creators Podcast. Thanks for listening. You can visit thevaluecreators.com for links and resources related to this episode. And check hunterhastings.com for more content on entrepreneurial business management based on value creation principles.